This documentary contains explicit content, including discussions of sexual assault, child abuse, child pornography, suicide, as well as flashing lights. Viewer discretion is advised.
In this interconnected world we live in, where screens link us together, a dark side has emerged. Predators that lurk in the shadows waiting for an unsuspecting victim to fall into their trap have emerged as a bold online presence. They are known as online groomers and pedophiles. Their sinister practices have forever ruined the lives of innocent children like you and me, particularly in this new technological age. During the devastating coronavirus, people have started excessively being on the internet, as they had nothing else to do. This habit has continued up till now and makes it even easier for pedophiles to attract and lure children online. Welcome to Unmasking Shadows, a documentary that peels back the layers of secrecy surrounding the harrowing realities of pedophilia and grooming. In the pursuit of understanding, we embark on a journey that goes beyond the headlines, beyond the sensationalism, to confront the uncomfortable truths that have lingered in the shadows for far too long. According to Merriam-Webster Dictionary, pedophilia is a psychiatric disorder in which an adult has sexual fantasies about or engages in sexual acts with a child under the age of consent.
Grooming is a particularly planned scheme that serves with pedophiles identifying potential victims. These predators are skilled at assessing vulnerabilities, whether it be emotional, societal, or familial, and using these issues to gain access into a victim's life.
According to Calio.org, 32% of school samples surveyed of children aged 9 to 16 reported that they had experienced someone talking about sex with them on the internet when they did not want this. This pedophilic process often begins innocently enough, with the pedophile establishing an emotional connection, whether it be online or in person, but it soon grows into a sticky situation. Once the victim has been identified, the predator will try to befriend the child. Using seemingly wholesome gestures, such as giving gifts and compliments, creates a false sense of security within the child, who slowly begins to place trust in the pedophile, ignorant to their dangerous intentions.
Trust is the backbone to the whole operation. As the victims begin to trust the perpetrator, a strong bond forms, making it increasingly difficult to discern the ulterior motives of the pedophile that are lurking just beneath the surface. After the trust has been established, which can take up to years, pedophiles start to slowly push healthy boundaries with the child in order to desensitize them to the discomfort which may arise in the future. This can involve uncomfortable sexual conversations, or if this is happening in person, the pedophile might start touching the child in inappropriate places, passing it off as a thing friends do.
Predators may also begin to gaslight the victims, which is an act of emotional manipulation often used to twist memories in favor of the abuser or perpetrator, which in this case is the pedophile. For example, if the victim confronts the pedophile about inappropriate behavior, the pedophile might respond with phrases such as, "You're overreacting, I thought we had a special relationship," or, "It's really not that big of a deal, all friends do that to each other. Aren't we friends?" As the grooming process continues, groomers tirelessly work to isolate their victims from the support system and networks, effectively isolating them from the world around them. This process of isolation effectively increases the predator's control. Once the predator has obtained all they can get from this toxic relationship, they often leave the victim to drown in their own shame, fear, and confusion, making the victim feel emotionally paralyzed. Many organizations nowadays have risen to the challenge of caring for these victims and helping them to return to a confident state even after experiencing these atrocious acts. One of these organizations in Sweden is called Alltid Sed, and we had the pleasure of interviewing Märta Larsson.
Jag heter Märta och jag jobbar som verksamhetsutvecklare på en organisation som heter Alltid Sed. Och Alltid Sed jobbar uppsökande på internet. Vi finns där, det är väldigt få vuxna som finns på olika sajter där vi vet att ungdomar kan bli utsatta för sexuell exploatering. Och med det menar jag att det är till exempel äldre män som tar kontakt med unga och ber dem skicka bilder efter att de har etablerat en lång relation. Och det är där vi vill finnas och agera. Så jag jobbar på Alltid Sed och det är en ideell organisation.
Metta helped us understand the profound effects pedophilia leaves with the victims, both emotionally, mentally, and physically, and she walked us through how they guide victims through the path of recovery.
Det här är ett sexuellt övergrepp när någon vuxen kontaktar någon omyndig eller barn i sexuellt syfte. Det är väldigt traumatiskt och det är olagligt. Så vi har det som utgångspunkt när vi pratar om det. Konsekvenserna som den som blir utsatt för är väldigt omfattande och väldigt svåra och stora. Och det kan handla om att det börjar med att man får magproblem till exempel. Man har ont i magen eller att man känner sig väldigt spänd över axlar och nacke och klagar på att man har mycket ont. Men rent psykiskt så är det också att man får ökad ångest. Man går runt och är rädd hela tiden för att man är rädd att den här förövaren ska hitta en eller kräva en på mer. Och då blir man mer stressad och man har lättare att svänga i humöret. Man kan få panikångestattacker. Också vanligt att man skadar sig själv som olika typer av självskadebeteende. Ätstörningsproblematik kan också vara en konsekvens av det som man har blivit utsatt för. Man pratar ju om någonting som heter posttraumatiskt stresssyndrom. Och det är väldigt många unga som vittnar om att de har fått det efter att de har blivit utsatta för den här typen av våld. Och sen är det väldigt svårt för att det är väldigt stigmatiserat. Det är ett ganska nytt fenomen. Det finns inte så mycket kunskap om det fortfarande. Och det saknas ett bra rättssystem som kan skydda de som blivit utsatta. Så därför blir det ju extra påtagligt för den som bär på det här. För det är inte alltid heller att någon frågar om det. Så därför blir det också rent psykologiskt en väldigt stor ensamhet. För att man vågar inte berätta. Och man brukar känna väldigt mycket skam och skuld också.
Unfortunately, this trauma can last so much longer than just the victim's childhood. Many victims experience PTSD, which stands for post-traumatic stress disorder. PTSD can lead to many long-term symptoms, including insomnia, night terrors, chronic anxiety, depression, and even suicidal thoughts. Recovering from being groomed is a long, hard journey that many people don't think is worth the effort, and instead, they simply give up on life. However, with enough support from the victims' families, friends, and organizations like Altid Syed, most victims find the strength inside to keep them going. However, pedophilia doesn't stop with the after effects of the victims. Police all around the world work day and night to find and take down pedophiles and pedophile rings, which are social networks of pedophiles that often share child pornography through the dark web. We talked to ISOB, which is a Swedish police branch that deals with all pedophilia that happens in Sweden. To start finding pedophiles, they start with finding videos and pictures containing child pornography.
There's 3 ways we get cases about pedophilia. Either someone who got groomed comes and tells us about it, which means that one child is enough to open a case. We can receive cases from other countries, or we get cases that start from other cases. So, for example, someone who gets arrested for drug possession might confess to being a pedophile, if that makes sense.
If countries such as the US start investigating an online pedophile that is operating in another country such as Sweden, they will send the case files over. In this example, the US would send the case files to Sweden. Social media has proven to be a challenge for these police officers, as it's very easy to maintain anonymity, so it's hard to track down these pedophiles.
With the increase of social media, the arena for pedophilia has become so much larger because just with a few clicks, they can contact children on the other side of the world, and it's so much harder to locate where they're from. I would say that TikTok is probably one of the most dangerous apps out there because most pedophiles find their victims through TikTok before transferring over to other apps.
Even though social media and the internet has made tracking these predators so much harder, it has also helped to create softwares to make identification an easier and quicker process.
We use a software called Grify to quickly sort through all the child pornography so we can focus on new victims being exploited instead of victims that we've already helped. It quickly scans all the footage we have and filters out the new faces and voices that we haven't seen before. For all the victims that we've seen in our other footage, it goes into the crime prevention unit.
Through all these amazing new softwares, police are able to bring down many more pedophiles than we would have been able to 20 years ago. The police shared one success story that particularly stood out to us.
I remember this one case a couple years ago where there was a man in a park who approached around 2 or 3 kids and asked them to add him on TikTok. They were pretty young kids, around 9 years old. They told their parents about it and they reported it to the police since it seemed creepy to them. Luckily, there was a lot of data on his TikTok account, so we could figure out who owned it. On his phone, we found many other kids, and the man said that he had a friend who he did this with. These 2 men would contact children online and to ask for nudes and sexual favors. So there were 2 subjects in the case now. The first guy who we initially caught said he had a USB drive with explicit content on it that he had thrown into the sea. Our team thought we wouldn't be able to find it, but we attempted to as there was a lot of child pornography containing many kids on that drive. So it was very important to us. We talked to the sea police, as in the police who take boats on the water, and they said that they could send some drivers to try and find it. We even took the suspect who said he had thrown away the drive into the ocean, but later on he confessed on the boat that he didn't throw in the drive. He actually buried it somewhere. He told us where he buried it, and we found and identified around 25 children on that drive around 8 to 12 years old. The case went to court and both men were found guilty. One of them got 3 years and 6 months, and the man who helped us find the drive got 3 months less, so 3 years and 3 months.
It's unusual and rare for a child to be able to tell an adult about being groomed or what's happening to them. But if a child does speak up, you should comfort and reassure them that they have done the right thing by informing you, and that what is happening to them is not their fault. Here are some signs to tell if your child is being groomed. Abrupt behavioral changes, like spending more or less time online, becoming more anxious or having seemingly random outbursts of anger. Spending more time away from home or school. Being secretive about their activities and using online devices more than usual. Having mysterious or unexplained gifts, big or small. Misuse of alcohol and/or drugs. Having a friendship or relationship with an older person. Development of sexual health problems. Using inappropriate sexual language you wouldn't expect them to know. Appearing to be sad or withdrawn. Mental health problems such as anxiety or depression. As a parent, you might be worried for your child, and that is perfectly normal. One thing to note is that if your child reaches out to you, always believe them and investigate their claim instead of immediately dismissing them, which can lead to further harm and break any trust they've put into you. Here are some ways to protect your child from being groomed, specifically online. And if you notice your child is being groomed, either online or in person, please call the police immediately at 112, or you can call ECPAT, a children's rights organization, to report any sexual exploitation of children at 020-112-100. First and foremost, the internet is a big part of your child's life, so it's important that you as a parent try to show interest in this and talk to them about it. Normalize talking about the internet with your child and ask them questions such as, did anything interesting happen today on the internet? Or, what did you do today online? You should set all their privacy settings on apps they use to make it difficult for strangers to learn any personal or private information about them. You should review apps, sites, and games they use to make sure they are only using age-appropriate apps, and also to make sure they're not talking with strangers online, as many apps and games nowadays have a chat function. Know who their friends are and talk to them about the danger of making friends online. Never allow your child to meet someone they only know online without a parent or other trusted adult present, and never let them meet a person who you have no proof of knowing they actually are who they say they are. You may find it helpful to restrict some apps, games, or videos online using child lock softwares, but keep in mind your child's maturity level, age, and need for privacy. Don't allow your child to play inappropriate games. Always check the age recommendation and keep in mind, most games nowadays allow players to chat with each other, making grooming even easier. The battle against pedophilia and grooming is not confined to the shadows, a place where this topic is often pushed to. It is indeed a societal war that demands collective action. This is a fight that concerns us all for the safety and well being of the most vulnerable members of our communities, our children. Each of us has a role to play, whether it is through advocating for stronger legislation, supporting victim assistance programs, or simply being vigilant and reporting any suspicious activity. United in our determination, we can turn the tide against those who seek to exploit the innocent. This is a battle we cannot afford to lose, for the sake of our children, our communities, and the very fabric of our society. The time for action is now.